Please don't forget to subscribe, because a lot of people that watch my videos don't subscribe apparently, and hit that bell so you stay informed with the latest and greatest videos from this channel. I'm also live every day on twitch.tv/Hasanabi after 11 a.m. Pacific.
I thank the representative of the United Arab Emirates for her statement. I give the floor to the permanent representative of Kenya.
Thank you, Mr. President. I thank Under-Secretary General Rosemary DiCarlo for her briefing. We meet tonight on the brink of a major conflict in Ukraine. The diplomacy we urged on the 17th of February is failing. The territorial integrity and sovereignty of Ukraine stands breached. The Charter of the United Nations continues to wilt.
Ukraine had essentially rejected Minsk. Doesn't mean what Russia has done is okay, but no one at the UN can say that. I mean, they'll never say that. They'll say that Russia is destroying the Minsk agreement.
Then turn their backs on it
Hold on,
in
I'll be
pursuit
back.
of objectives diametrically opposed to international peace and security. In the last two meetings on the situation in Ukraine and the buildup of forces by the Russian Federation, Kenya urged that diplomacy be given a chance. Our cry was not heeded, and more importantly, the Charter's demand for states to settle their international disputes by peaceful means in such a manner that international peace and security and justice are not endangered has been profoundly undermined. Today, the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity and political independence of Ukraine has been effected. Kenya is gravely concerned by the announcement made by the Russian Federation to recognize Donetsk and Luhansk regions of Ukraine as independent states. In our considered view, this action and announcement breaches the territorial integrity of Ukraine. We do not deny that there may be serious security concerns in these regions, but they cannot justify today's recognition of these regions as independent states, not when there are multiple diplomatic tracks available and underway that have the ability to offer peaceful solutions. Mr. President, this situation echoes our history. Kenya and almost every African country was birthed by the ending of empire. Our borders were not of our own drawing. They were drawn in the distant colonial metropoles of London, Paris, and Lisbon, with no regard for the ancient nations that they cleaved apart. Today, across the border of every single African country live our countrymen with whom we share deep historical, cultural, and linguistic bonds.
Is he popping off? What the fuck?
At independence, had we chosen to pursue states on the basis of ethnic, racial, or religious homogeneity, we would still be waging bloody wars these many decades later. Instead, we agreed that we would settle for the borders that we inherited, but we would still pursue continental political, economic, and legal integration. Rather than form nations that looked ever backwards into history with a dangerous nostalgia, we chose to look forward to a greatness none of our many nations and peoples had ever known. We chose to follow the rules of the Organization of African Unity and the United Nations Charter, not because our borders satisfied us, but because we wanted something greater, forged in peace. We believe that all states formed from empires that have collapsed or retreated have many peoples in them yearning for integration with peoples in neighboring states. This is normal and understandable. After all, who does not want to be joined to their brethren and to make common purpose with them? However, Kenya rejects such a yearning from being pursued by force. We must complete our recovery from the embers of dead empires in a way that does not plunge us back into new forms of domination and oppression. We rejected irredentism and
I thought Ireland would have a
expansionism
similar
on any
take.
basis, including racial, ethnic, religious, or cultural factors. We reject it again today. Kenya registers its strong concern and opposition to the recognition of Donetsk and Luhansk as independent states. We further strongly condemn the trend in the last few decades of powerful states, including members of this Security Council, breaching international law with little regard. Multilateralism lies on its deathbed tonight. It has been assaulted today as it has been by other powerful states in the recent past. We call on all members to rally behind the Secretary General in asking him to rally us all to the standard that defends multilateralism. We also call on him
Thank you,
to bring
Nightmares
his
Mans,
good
for 20 of the
offices to
subs.
bear to help the concerned parties resolve this situation by peaceful means. Let me conclude, Mr. President, by reaffirming Kenya's respect for the territorial integrity of Ukraine within its internationally recognized borders. Thank you.
Я благодарю.
I thank the representative of Kenya for his statement.
Who's
I give the
being
floor
racist?
to
What are you talking about?
the
Hassan
permanent
leaves for
representative of Ghana.
1 minute. Chad's being racist. Train your
you very
dogs,
much.
please. Who the fuck's being racist? What?
And I would also begin by, first of all, thanking USG Rosemary DiCarlo for her briefing to the Council. Mr. President, the decision by the Russian Federation to recognize the non-government-controlled regions of eastern Ukraine and to send in troops have stunned the world. Ghana deeply regrets the decision of the Russian Federation to turn its back on the Minsk agreements and the dialogue required to address concerns over the implementation of the agreements. When Ghana joined this organization in 1957, we were under no illusions that the international order was perfect. However, we were convinced, and still are, that the principles of sovereign equality of states, which constitute the basis of this organization and our multilateral order, is the veritable foundation for a stable world. We believe that the United Nations represents the best attempt at maintaining peace across the nations, forging relations and cooperation between and among our peoples, and holding forth the prospect of a better tomorrow. It is for this reason that Ghana, like many other members of the organization, has solemnly committed itself to uphold the Charter and international law. We believe that through multilateralism we can improve cooperation to make the world a better place for its citizens and for generations unborn. Through this organization and our common actions on principles such as self-determination within the context of the United Nations, the countries that existed under colonial rule have been assisted to become sovereign and politically independent states. By its sheer convening power, this organization has set out a pathway for dialogue for all its members, regardless of differences in political ideology, and encourage the development and maintenance of friendly relations. By the actions of this organization, the rights of people across the world have become more respected by their governments and their well-being better guaranteed. Mr. President, I will be clear. Ghana supports the internationally recognized borders of Ukraine, the borders of which it joined the United Nations as a bona fide member. We do not support any actions that violate Ukraine's sovereignty, political independence, and territorial integrity. By our principles, Ghana does not recognize any entity outside of the clear arrangements that have been established by the Charter and the principles of international law for the recognition of states. As an international community, we have pulled back from many dangerous scenarios when logic and reason have prevailed. And on this occasion, we re-echo the voice of the Coalition of Peace for Restraint by all parties. While the sound of war may be loud, the voice of peace runs deeper. We urge restraint on all unsettled but accepted situations across the globe and remind member states of the need to protect the collective security mechanism, which requires adherence to the core principles of the Charter and international law. The true test of greatness lies not in one's ability to use power, but in the capacity to constrain its use when that would be an obvious choice by those of a lesser capacity. We hope that within this Council, and perhaps outside of it too, we shall find a resolution of the existing situation in Ukraine, and in a manner that does not impair the mechanisms for peace.
No, Ukraine is not joining
While
NATO,
Ghana
Chad.
and other African member states have always held that the use of the veto
Like
power is
a lot, dude. This is the fucking UN Security Council. Everyone, it is literally the most powerless fucking authority. Okay, I think they've probably yelled about Israel a million times at this point. This is like the 8,970th meeting, and they've done like probably 400 on Israel. Okay, it doesn't mean anything unless America has something to fucking do with it. Okay, and they're all right. I mean, what Russia did today is unacceptable. Okay, this is basically just finger wagging, and ultimately it comes down to what the United States does, and it comes down to basically what you know, how they are going to scrounge up a potential fucking deal. All right, that's it. That's all this is. Of course, everyone is going to say like they haven't yelled about Israel because America, Britain, and France won't veto it. No, they have yelled about Israel. They've done this exact same fucking kind of meeting about Israel like a million times. But it's completely meaningless because, once again, the same countries that are immediately rushing to put sanctions on Russia at the moment, okay, they're not putting sanctions on Israel, which currently has Golan Heights annexed, right? And there are no, you know, Israeli Jewish people living in Golan Heights. That's like total fucking territory that is not, is absolutely not even remotely a part of Israel. We're not even talking about like Israel's existence right now. We're talking about like Israel's annexation of Golan Heights, which is Syria, right? And
thank you, President. First of all, I would like to thank Ms.
ultimately, what matters in this circumstance, is
over the last few weeks,
what do you call it? Is what America does and what America is going to allow to do. And the concerning thing that I've seen thus far, a lot of hypocrites plus 5 competing member states have the power to sanction anything in their favor. What is actually somewhat a not as concerning is, well, first of all, U.S. is imposing new sanctions on Russia tomorrow and is coordinating with allies on the announcement. A White House official tells Mike Mamoli the sanctions are supposedly going to be targeted on Donetsk and Luhansk. So it's like hyper targeted, hyper specific sanctions, which of course is still not good, but so we'll see what happens there. But the other cause for potential diplomacy is that the United States was fucking talking a major game about how Russia is gonna fucking murder Ukrainian babies nonstop for the past couple of months. And the moment that Russia moved troops into Ukrainian borders, they immediately fucking backed down from a lot of that like super sensationalist takes, and immediately was like, okay, well, we're not going to add like, I mean, this is kind of the same as like, you know, this territory was already controlled Russian territory anyway. That's what Ukraine is saying. That's what the United States is saying. They're like, you know, they're putting they're putting troops. It's like, doesn't really change the dynamic too much. Doesn't really change the dynamic too much. It does change the dynamic. And they are, bro, you're full of shit. Literally said it this morning. Wait, what?